Stephen Newsham, American Exchange, 1979 diary. February the 12th. I got my letter from whom I'm staying with. I'm staying with Drake, who is 16 years old, Adrianne, who is 13, and Jon, who is 12. They have a dog named Lady and a cat called Winchester. The father is a school teacher and the mother is a bank teller. I wrote back to him the same day. 31st of March, the big day. The flight to London was on a fairly small plane, but it was still pretty exciting. And when we got to Heathrow Airport, Mr. Fitzpatrick got lost. We are flying to Seattle on a Boeing 747. Paid £1.25 to listen to the film on the radio. 7 p.m. English time. The aeroplane is in a turbulence. The pilot announces to us all to fasten our seatbelts and return to our seats until further notice. 7:30. Turbulence ended. We are free to walk around again. We missed the 5:30 flight from Seattle and had to wait 3 hours before the next flight. I was really tired. I hadn't slept for over 24 hours. Finally, we met our hosts. We got home, that's me and my host, about 1 a.m. American time. Joyce showed me around the house. I finally got to bed around 1:30. Sunday, the 1st of April. Slept really well and finally got up around 12 o'clock. I had for my breakfast 3 Scotch pancakes, 2 fried eggs and 1 cup of tea. The tea wasn't very nice, it wasn't what we were used to, but anyway, there we go. It was a change. My first snack consisted of Kool-Aid and chocolate chip cookies. We went for a walk with Jon and he showed me the school. Got home at approximately 6 p.m. and phoned Ben up. April the 2nd. Spent the day in school. First period, watched part of a movie about cowboys and Indians. Halfway through, we were called to attend a meeting with all the other exchange students, and host students also took part. Period 2. Walked around school as part of the meeting. Period 3. Met Mr. McKee, who teaches a lesson on survival. That's not Mr. McKee, it's Mr. McKee. Period 4. Spent a lesson in Sherry's maths period, getting embarrassed by all the girls. And in my diary, as you can see, Jon has highlighted that with Steve liked that in bright red pen. Period 5. Had my photo taken by the press. Ooh, and so did all the other exchange students. Period 6. Practiced writing a journal in English. The teacher was born in England. Period 7. Watch the girls doing PE. What a nice sight. The PE teacher kept telling us all corny jokes and asking us all questions. 6:15, arrived at potluck dinner. We had this green stuff that wasn't very pleasant, and I do remember, Joyce, we did have some really good laughs about the green stuff, and I don't ever think we ever found what it was or where it came from. April the 3rd, went on a field trip to visit all the different schools in the area. Jon, my host, was not feeling very well, so he went to bed when we got home. In the evening, I went to Washington Square with Mrs. Bull. April the 4th, 7:40, went to school as normal with Jon. 9:05, the exchange students, that's the English ones, went on a tour of Portland Old Town. At 12 o'clock, we all went for a pizza at the Old Town Pizza Parlour. I had 5 pizzas. We didn't even actually get time to go see KGW. I don't really know what that was, but there we go, KG. I think it's a radio station, perhaps. April the 5th, went to visit the FBI. That's the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I held a machine gun. Ooh. In the evening, at 5:30, Joyce's friend Debbie brought her home in a Camaro Z28. That's 3,500cc sports car. And then Debbie took me, Drake, Jon and Adrianne for a ride in the car. At 7:30, we went to a school disco and I danced with lots of pretty girls and my feet never left the dance floor, apparently. And Johnny, then again, Jonathan's highlighted that. Steve loved that. After the dance, all the family, except Dan, went to the McDonald's for our supper. And the milkshakes are really thick. I wrote to my family as well on that evening. April the 6th, got up around 8:30, took a shower, then at 9:30 went to cash my checks to go shopping. We went to Washington Square. Joyce bought me a pair of Levi jeans, probably my first pair. Then I bought a vest. I also bought all my presents apart from grandparents and my parents. In the afternoon, we went to watch Dan's team play Fowler at basketball. Fowler won by 2 points, which was scored in the very last 2 seconds. And I do remember that game, and as Jon has highlighted again underneath, Jon actually refereed the basketball game. Later on in the evening, Joyce sewed up my Levi's, because they must have been a bit long in their leg, I reckon, and sewed on all the patches onto my vest. April the 7th, got out of bed about 10:05 PM, I've written here, but I don't think that's true. It will have been AM. Had cereal for my breakfast. 12:15, we all went to Washington Park and the Rose Gardens. The weather today was in the 70s. Played frisbee and soccer. At 2 PM, we went to Dan's parents. Played 3 games of basketball. 3 hours later, we went home and had lasagna for tea. April the 8th, spent the day at Joyce's sister's house. It was her daughter's 2nd birthday. We got home around 5:30 PM, wrote some postcards to my grandparents, my aunties, my uncles, my cousins, my brothers, after which I watched a little television and went to bed. April the 9th, spent the day in school, but at 1:45 we went on a boat tour up the Willamette River. It rained and hailstormed while we were there. After taking the boat tour, we went to the organ grinder, where we had a pizza and a Coke. We drove home in the truck, had a look at my Viewmaster, and took some photographs of the organ in the organ grinder, which I can't find for some reason. April the 10th, went to Bonneville Dam and saw all kinds of fish, e.g. salmon, sturgeon and trout. Got back to school and watched track racing with Jon. When we got home, Joyce took us swimming. April the 11th, got up around 6:30 to go to KATO Channel 2 on a television programme called AM Northwest. We were on at the end of the advert. We went shopping after. We went back to school and watched myself on the video recording. In the evening, I went shopping to Washington Square with Jon, Drake, Mick, Ben and Rex. That would have been Rex Butler. April the 12th. In the morning, we went to Salem, which is the capital of Portland, to the Capitol building. After that, we went to the park to eat our lunch. I cut my tongue on a piece of apple skin. Then we went to an old house which had been made into a museum. Then we went back to school. Jon had a nap while I wrote down addresses and telephone numbers of my American friends. April the 13th. Went to school about 7:45, spent the day in school. After school, we coloured Easter eggs. Then Joyce and I went to Washington Square and bought the rest of my presents. April the 14th. Went to Earthquake Ethel's disco, which lasted for around 4.5 hours. Mick went to the beach at 12:30, and at 3:30, when the disco ended, Joyce and Dan came to pick us up. In the evening, around 7:30, 8 o'clock, all Dan and Joyce's relatives came to the house in aid of a party. It was fantastic, which finally ended around 12:30. April the 15th. Got out of bed around 11:30, and then at 2, all of us went ice skating at Beaverton Ice Skating Centre. When we left, we got ice creams. In the evening, we all had early nights. Short day, that one. April the 16th. Drove to Condon, which took around 2 hours. We went to meet our host for the evening, where Mr. Potter showed me around his combine harvesters. They were fantastic, they were massive. He let me drive one, and then we went home and rode his son's motorcycle. It was like a motorcycle snow thing, it went on snow. I watched TV and went to bed around 10 o'clock.